I learned that I have to work overtime during the holidays. I went crazy on the internet. Count every item in your boss office. From the leather sofa to the toothbrush he used. I said I would sell them all after get off work, and then use the money to order 18 male models. As a result, the video went viral. The first most popular comment is from the boss himself. Are you sick? Why don't you just sell me out? Are you hesitating about something? 1. As the CEO's secretary. At this moment, I was standing outside the meeting room door holding a cup of brewed coffee. Even the soundproof door couldn't block out the man's mocking voice. He speaks very fast and his words are clear. What do I need you guys for? Tell me the truth. Did you write this plan with your feet? When I take it to the market, the ladies passing by will praise it. It's delicious. It's really delicious. Also, this project book, after reading 20 pages, I still don't know what you want to say. Can you make the point clear? With your language organization skills, I wouldn't even know who died when I went to a funeral. A bunch of protein idiots and neurotics. They did a shitty job, and were so confident that they didn't even wipe their asses before putting it in front of me. Did you forget to bring your brains when nature was evolving? Can you please be more careful? I paid you to come to the company. Are you here to piss me off or to get work done? Everyone in the meeting room kept their heads down and acted like a turtle, not daring to say a word. Hearing this, I wisely turned around and left with my coffee. The boss was angry, and I just walked into the gunpoint because I was tired of living. He could use one less cup of coffee, but I can't take any more scolding. Make an excuse to go to the bathroom. When I came back, there was no one in the meeting room. I know the crisis is over for now, so I made another cup of coffee and walked towards the president's office. The door was half open. Someone got there before me. It was Linda Hall, a secretary assistant who was inserted into the finance department through connections. She was wearing a tight skirt, 10 centimeters red-soled high heels, and had exquisite makeup. She pinched her throat and said delicately, "Timothy, the coffee you ordered." As he spoke, he bent down and prepared to put the coffee on the table. The man was sitting at the desk. He had a tall and slender figure, an extremely handsome face and deep eyebrows and eyes. There is a natural elegance and dignity. However, at this time, those eyes were overly cold. Who are you? Who let you in? Is this your job? Go out. The smile on her face froze. Timothy, I'm the new secretary assistant, Linda. Debra is busy, so she asked me to deliver it for her. As for myself, how could I not know? The man didn't even raise his head and continued reviewing documents. Get out. Don't make me say it again. Linda took a deep breath. The next second, he seemed to have hemorrhoids on his feet and couldn't stand steadily, so he was about to rush forward with the coffee in his hand. The man didn't move, his voice was cold. I advise you to think carefully before you splash it. This suit of mine is worth $200,000. Can you afford to pay for it? She staggered but finally managed to stand firm. The man looked at her, looking her up and down. He sneered. What kind of job do you have dressed like this? How badly do you want the police to arrest me? I don't know why HR hired you. You can't even help with the styling. You want to replace Debra? But you're not as pretty as her. And your ability is not even 1,000th of hers. I couldn't help but curl the corners of my mouth. After scolding me for so long, the dog boss finally saw my good side. However, I was too happy too soon. He added, "Of course, I'm not praising her, nor am I scolding you. I'm just stating a fact. Just like Debra dresses more rustically than my grandma." The smile on Linda's face could hardly be held back. Or is it the position of the boss lady that you are eyeing? His tone was full of undisguised mockery. People should not pursue things that do not belong to them. Instead of holding on to unrealistic fantasies of becoming successful overnight, it is better to improve yourself. I suggest you check whether you have Parkinson's disease or epilepsy first. Should have been expected. Timothy Walker has a history of being a sharp-tongued person. She left crying with her coffee. When passing by the door, he didn't forget to glance at me. The next second, the man's lukewarm voice sounded. Debra, how long are you going to stand at the door? Working as a security guard part-time. I sighed and walked in. This is truly an unprovoked disaster. He slowly adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses. His slender knuckles tapped lightly on the table. Look at this situation. Well, I'm going to be scolded again. Debra, I didn't offer you a 7-figure salary just to watch the fun. I hope you can learn from the telephone pole and always know your position. Be aware of the danger. I'm worth so much now. If I get poisoned to death, you'll go to jail. For the sake of salary, I can bear it. Be more discerning. If your myopia is too severe, the company can pay for your surgery. I don't want any shady people to get close to me next time. I wear plain glasses, he knows that. Just call me blind. Also, Debra, don't you usually look in the mirror? You're wearing such shabby clothes, which seriously affects the company's image. If you scare away customers, who will compensate me for the loss? I laughed dryly. Your smile is so ugly, you might as well not smile at all. Timothy, fuck you. This mouth is getting worse and worse. If you hadn't given me so much, I would have quit long ago. Is this what you call salary? It's clearly a waste of money. 2. Come out of the office. Linda was packing her things, holding a large box. She was fired. Even the people in the finance department were scolded by the boss. Her high heels made a clicking sound. Looking at me, eyes full of resentment. He doesn't like me, and he doesn't like you even more. Don't think I can't see what you're thinking. Who knows how you got to this position? You're not even worthy of carrying his shoes. I smiled slightly, changing my cowardly attitude in front of my boss. I'm so sorry. I graduated from Peking University with a master's degree, and I got in based on my true talent and knowledge. That's right. How can it compare to Linda, who graduated from a third-tier university and got in through connections? It's bad enough that he causes me trouble at other times. But today not only did he cause me to get scolded, he also wanted to throw dirty water on me. Do you really think I'm a soft persimmon that anyone can bully? You don't even pay a penny, and you still want to scold me. That's a nice thought. You, taking advantage of my height. I leaned forward and moved closer. Relying on a man to cross the class barrier? It's hard to say. After all, I have no experience. Different professions are like different mountains. I wish you success. Have a nice resignation, Linda. You can't scold him, and you can't beat him. What should I do? She could only stare blankly and hold it in. The depression finally dissipated a lot. The further you go, the broader the world will be, while tolerating breast hyperplasia for a while. You never deceive me. Afternoon. Loosen the soil and water the boss's money tree. I took the small shovel and dug more and more vigorously. There's no one in the office. The old problem has come back again. I couldn't help but hum a few lines. In a big company, I keep digging and digging. Even with a huge salary, it's still not enough to spend. I get scolded by a very annoying boss. Suddenly, there was a sigh from behind. Timothy leaned lazily against the door frame, not knowing how long he had been listening. He curled up the corners of his mouth as if smiling. You sing so beautifully, Debra. Are you trying to kill yourself? As a contestant who sang out of tune, his singing was overheard. My face turned red with embarrassment. Have you ever thought about becoming a singer? If so, I'll call the police. Timothy, fuck you. 3. The day before the holiday. Timothy just came back from a business trip. The driver Paul happened to be on leave, so my boss asked me to pick him up at the hotel entrance. Because there were so many people, I looked for him for a long time, but couldn't see him in person. So I called him. Boss, where are you? The voice on the other end was cold and low. Across from you. I was puzzled and drove forward again. I didn't see it. How about you wave your hand, boss? His voice seemed to come from between his teeth. Debra, my hands are almost broken from waving. I've stopped more than a dozen taxis. I was shocked. No, I really didn't see it. He sneered. You've gone too far. When he got in the car, I smiled sheepishly, trying to hide my embarrassment. Timothy sat in the passenger seat, crossing his legs. He glanced at me meaningfully. There are 2 eggs in the eye sockets. They can only blink but not see. I want to poison him and make him mute, no kidding. He spoke again. Go home and pack your things tonight, and come with me on a business trip tomorrow. What? I almost lost my grip on the steering wheel. I thought he had lost track of time. Boss, tomorrow is a holiday. He took over the conversation naturally. I know. Are you kidding me? The handsome guy asked me out for dinner tomorrow. Besides loving money, I am also lustful. That handsome guy kept calling me sister. How could I have the nerve to stand him up? I am dying. Boss, can I not go? He looked at me and uttered a few words gently yet cruelly. No, unless you don't want to do it anymore. Revenge, this is definitely revenge. A small-minded and silly fan. I was so angry that I drove very fast. Along the way, I ignored his hesitation to speak. Arrived at the company gate. He was reluctant to get out of the car. His brows were furrowed and his face turned pale and blue. Oops, I forgot my boss suffers from motion sickness. His tone was stiff. Debra, in a 15-minute drive, you overtook other cars 10 times, cut off other cars 8 times, and cursed at other people 6 times. Do you have road rage? If you don't think about yourself, you should also think about others. Your life is in danger when you sit in the passenger seat. I suggest you don't drive in the future. I suggest you don't open your mouth. When I got to the office, I sorted out the documents for tomorrow's business trip. The handsome guy sent me a message. He asked me what time I would leave home the next day, and came to pick me up. I replied guiltily, "No, I have to go on a business trip. Let's make an appointment another day." Sorry. The other party paused, then readily accepted. It's okay. I'll wait for you to be free. Be safe on your business trip, and have a safe trip. He was so nice and considerate it made me cry. Looking at the documents in my hands, the more I deal with them, the angrier I get. The boss is not here. I simply picked up my phone and started taking videos like crazy. Count every object in your office. From the umbrella the boss usually holds, and the bowls he eats from, to the Italian handmade carpet under his feet. From the leather sofa he sat on to the toothbrush he used in the bathroom. Caption: I sold them all after get off work, and then used the money to order 18 male models. After filming, I posted it to a short video platform. As a result, I opened it out of habit before going to bed in the middle of the night. Message 99+. Unexpectedly, the video went viral. Hot review first. Are you sick? Why don't you just sell me out? Are you hesitating about something? My heart trembled at this familiar tone. The comments section is full of jokes. Welcome to watch the car rollover scene. Ha 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 ha. This is the first time I see someone getting caught making a joke by the boss. Author. I was fired from work tomorrow for stepping left foot first. This office is so inhumane. They charge 9.9 yuan for a ride on a shared bike. I'm not kidding. Boss, is this office yours? Are you selling it? Boss, you better keep one eye on guard and one eye on sentry at night. Look, your boss cares about you so much that he asks if you are sick. You are such a talent. I'd like to add you. Please refuse. What kind of nice person would even sell a second-hand toothbrush? Don't be so outrageous. The toothbrush is brittle. I suggest you just give it to me. I looked at my nickname. My boss is a big idiot. Suddenly I had a bad feeling. No way, it can't be such a coincidence. I remember my boss doesn't use this software. I clicked on Ray's homepage, but there was nothing there, except that the IP address was in the same city as mine. Breathe a sigh of relief. However, the next second, messages from mobile contacts. Boss. Debra, please explain your nickname at work tomorrow. You might as well let me explain why I didn't sell you too. Then at least I can say with confidence that I did sell it. 4. The priority was to think. Whichever foot you take first tomorrow is less likely to be fired. As you can see, my boss has a bad mouth. If you owe money to someone, any dog passing by will be scolded. As the president of Walker Group, and the only heir of the Shin family, apart from his good looks, good figure and the ability to reincarnate, he has no other advantages. The Jiang City media summarized his evaluation in 8 words. It's hard to guard against gangsters in the business world. Other people's business wars, ruthless and lawless. Timothy's business war, shameless and uncivilized. An employee of Allen Group Company made a stupid mistake and offended a customer, which became a hot topic. Walker got a great deal. Timothy sent 3 messages in a row using the official account to add insult to injury. It's not just a timely help. It's at least making things worse. What's going on, Ronald? The customer should be God. Oh, thank you, Ronald, for the wealth you have brought me. You deserve to be enshrined in the imperial temple. It hurts to see that half of the netizens are cursing, but what about the other half? Don't they have keyboards? Ronald was so angry that he blocked him directly. Summary: not illegal but shameful. The reason I became his secretary was probably because we are of the same kind. My morality is subjective, and the wages he offers have objective regularity. Correctly exerting subjective initiative must be based on following objective laws. I can't refuse money for the sake of morality, right? In simple terms, it still means, he gave so much. You can use this to test cadres, but I can't. So we joined forces, which was almost like him opening the door and letting the dogs out. He is famous not only for his looks, but also for his sharp tongue and his vengeance. Given that the previous rival king deliberately lowered the price, it snatched food from Walker's mouth. Later, the two companies bid for the land in the west of the city at the same time. Because the two company buildings are facing each other, Timothy bought a large mirror and looked at himself every day. If asked, he said he used it to straighten his clothes. After using it for a month, I found that the effect of losing money was not very significant. So it was my turn to disguise myself as a cleaning lady, sneak into King's store, and kill Edward King's money tree with boiling water. It is said that superstitious Edward cried like a baby that day. The next day, Edward invited the clients to dinner. Under Timothy's cover, I sneaked into the kitchen and changed the 12 hard dishes into 12 dishes of daylilies. Success ruined the cooperation. Edward had no choice but to go back home. Edward is old and pays attention to health exercise, so he rides a bicycle. I just deflated someone's tire secretly. Timothy calmly drove over and pretended to meet Edward by chance, and then kindly sent Edward home. This made Edward hesitate. It is not right to scold him, nor is it right to thank him. I was wondering what he was up to. When he got home, he was beaten by his wife because there was a lipstick mark on the hem of his shirt. When Edward came to his senses, he felt so regretful and miserable. In business and love, there are always failures. Edward had enough of the bullying, so Timothy turned his gaze to Jason. Jason has not yet graduated from college and has no interest in the family business. Forced to clock in at the company every day. During work, I either play games or watch TV. Timothy bribed Jason's office secretary. If he wants to watch TV, unplug his router. If he plays games, steal his charger. Within 2 weeks, Jason was not only severely criticized by his teammates, but his game rank also dropped 3 levels. I thought he would be more or less aware of it, but I didn't expect this man to go find his father with such confidence. I told you that the feng shui of your land is bad, and you can't even support a tree, but you didn't believe me. Then it was natural for him to go to the internet cafe and play games in a private room. It was only natural for me to arrange for a beautiful woman to go in. Then, Timothy naturally called Edward to complain that his son was not a good student. Jason was beaten so badly by the mixed doubles team that night that he cried miserably when he complained to Timothy's father the next day. Under physical interference, Walker won the bid. Timothy was standing at the company entrance, playing Good Luck Comes on a repeating loop on the speakers. As his close secretary, as soon as he sticks out his, "But I know what he is going to fart," silently took out the banner. Walker is standing firm, but King is losing his position. Hard music with red border. Edward was so angry that his nose was not a nose, and his eyes were not eyes. Pointing at Timothy, he cursed. "Hey, you little bastard. I held you in my arms when you were a child. You are such a bad person." Timothy raised an eyebrow, speaking in a serious tone. "Edward, kind words bring good relationships, while bad words hurt people's hearts. Next time, don't say things that are not conducive to unity. Look at it in a positive way. I am the most capable secretary Timothy currently has. He can't find anyone more immoral than me. No, I mean anyone more talented than me. To think of the worst, I have been acting like a coward under him for half a year. I never talked back to him, but everything was ruined today. If it were just this one thing it would be fine, but the key point is that he and I were incompatible in high school, and I even let him down after graduating from the college entrance examination. At that time, I never thought that 6 years later I would be working as a secretary for my archenemy. After graduating with a master's degree, I found a pretty good job in a big company. But the department manager harassed me, and I beat him up in a fit of rage. The manager was in the hospital for 2 months. Because the manager was the chairman's brother-in-law, not only was I fired, I was also banned in the industry. Just when I was unemployed, Timothy appeared. Not only did he not settle accounts with me, he also hired me with a high salary. Let bygones be bygones and appoint people based on their merits. He is such a nice guy. In order to keep him well, I decided to pretend to be his grandson forever. I didn't expect it to be exposed today. It was a real mistake. He is a vengeful person. What if he settles old and new grudges together? Unexpectedly, this is horrible. I slept. Good night, this is the world. 9 o'clock in the morning. The boss's car is parked downstairs of my house. Timothy sat in the back row, his long legs crossed and his profile looking handsome. I was wondering which foot should get on the bus first. He lifted his eyelids lightly. Why, you want to sell me the car again? How could that be possible? I shook my head wildly. Why don't you come up? Wait for me to treat you. Maybe because I didn't sleep well last night. My brain is twitching. Subconsciously asked, Boss, how do I get on? Left first or right first? The man said unhappily, Jump up. Then, I really jumped up obediently. As a result, I accidentally used up the strength I used for the long jump in the physical education exam. I didn't have time to brake, and he didn't have time to dodge. The body lunged forward uncontrollably, caught off guard. With a bang, I heard a low, muffled groan in my ears. The man's back was pressed against the car door. My forehead hit his chin, and my hands subconsciously looked for support. There is a clear heartbeat beneath the firm touch of the palm. The distance was very close. The hot and humid breath sprayed on the top of the head, and the waist was wrapped by a big palm. The man's eyes were calm and dark. I raised my head, and my gaze uncontrollably fell on the rosy thin lips, and the Adam's apple rolling up and down in front of me. The atmosphere became strange, until a slight gasp came from the driver's seat, breaking the stagnant air. I jumped up from the boss. Put your hands together in front of your forehead. Sincere tone. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Timothy stood up a little slowly, moved his shoulders and said nothing. The earlobes were tinged with an almost imperceptible red. After a while, Yeah, you meant it. Paul in front turned his head curiously, his eyes shining with excitement. However, I still remember the words that Linda was scolded. I quickly raised my finger to prove my innocence. I swear I don't have the slightest improper desire. Otherwise I will never be successful in my life. Shut up, it's so noisy. I was interrupted before I could finish my oath. Timothy took a deep breath and raised his hand to press his throbbing eyebrows. I silently added, Fiscal. His face turned cold instantly. Look ahead. How do you drive? It makes me dizzy. Paul hesitated to speak. No, the car hasn't started yet. Shut up. Good news, what happened last night is over. Bad news, the boss is moody again. I kept silent. It was eerily quiet inside the car. Realize it later. I swear I just raised 4 fingers. 6. There are no eternal friends or eternal enemies, only eternal interests. This business trip is to discuss investment with King. Half of the business cooperation is discussed at the dinner table. The door of the box opened. The boy inside was wearing a black short-sleeved shirt and playing games with his legs casually resting. Timothy frowned. Why is it you? Hearing the sound, he put down his phone and turned around. The short and messy silver-gray hair highlights his sunny and handsome face. He put his hands behind his head, his posture was lazy. I can't help it. My dad doesn't want to see you. He glanced back and landed on me, his eyes sparkling. Sister surprise? After seeing his face clearly, I silently took 2 steps back. It's almost scary. I never thought that the person who called me sister, left and right every day was Jason. That day I was wearing a cleaning uniform and took the opportunity to sneak into Edward's office. It was lunchtime and no one was inside. I picked up the small spray bottle and poured it on the roots of the money tree. Suddenly there was a rustling sound behind the desk. The young man with messy hair stood up from behind the table, looking sleepy, staring at me blankly. I was so frightened that I couldn't move. Well, I work as a cleaner and watering plant in my company. He suddenly smiled with his lips curved. Don't panic, I'm an intern, I'm just sneaking around. He picked up the kettle from the table and handed it to me. Whispered, Sister, pour this on me, I'm dead. When they looked at each other, they saw a tacit understanding in each other's eyes. I thought to myself, this handsome guy is quite nice. Later he suggested adding a contact method. And because I was lustful, I agreed. He chats with me all day long, calling me sister. He invited me to dinner, but I broke it several times because I had something urgent to do. Later, although I followed my boss to bully Jason, I never met him in person. Who knew it was him? When I think about it this way, he is truly filial. Elbows turned outward. Jason courteously pushed me to sit in the empty seat between him and Timothy. He took the menu and stuffed it into my hand. Sister, look at what you want to eat. The existence of the third party is completely ignored. If you don't know, you might think they are two people on a date. Timothy's ambiguous gaze lingered between us. His eyes paused as they passed Jason's hair. A faint curve appeared at the corner of his lips. It's really like a goat farting like a sheep, so fashionable and coquettish. Just in time, all the dishes were served. Jason moved the plate of cilantro beef in front of him to the side. The movement is barely perceptible. Suddenly, a cold voice came from the left. Feng Jie eats cherries. She is ugly but still picky. The boy clenched his fists in anger. Suddenly thinking of something, he raised an eyebrow and glanced at Timothy. Sister, it's okay for him to be like this to me. But he wouldn't be so mean to you normally, right? Sister, why don't you say anything? Is this true? A woman in her 30s is a flower. A man in his 30s is an old cucumber. Timothy is 26 this year, right? TSK. Stop talking now. Can't you see that my boss's face is as black as the bottom of a pot? To smooth things over, I hurriedly picked up a chicken leg with the serving chopsticks and put it in Jason's bowl. Eat some vegetables. The young man stopped and slowly his two dimples appeared. I listened to my sister. Debra, don't forget who you belong to. Timothy's face looked gloomy. I quickly poured him another glass of water. Boss, drink some water. Jason gnawed on a chicken leg and whispered quietly. Stingy, drink some cold water. What's wrong with the secretary? She's still my senior. It seems that Jason is indeed studying at Peking University. The atmosphere was silent for a moment. I can't control this situation anymore. How about you guys fight? Timothy pressed the tip of his tongue against his jaw. Maybe he was really angry and behaved in a childish way. If you're so fond of making connections, why don't you just say that the earth is your home? The school is so big, can we see each other once a month? Senior, why don't you ask her who she sat next to for 2 years in high school? If it weren't for the accident, you would have to call me senior now. Two pairs of eyes looked at me at the same time. When gods fight, the devils suffer. I looked around and pretended to be calm. Lower your head and eat watermelon. Haha, this melon is so sweet. 7. Timothy and I met in the first semester of our sophomore year in high school. At that time, he had just transferred back from abroad. He looks exactly like a young master from a wealthy family, noble and aloof, taking everything for granted and showing disdain for everything, including the top position in the grade, which is what I value most. I have always known that there are many people who are better off than me, and not everyone has the same experience as me. But his appearance made me feel. It turns out that the gap between people can not only be a chasm, but also a mountain that can never be climbed. I was born in a slightly educated family, and both my parents are college students. They have received higher education, but have not washed away their old and decadent ideas. The day I was born, there were a lot of people outside the delivery room. When my mother found out that I was a girl, she said, "What an injustice," before she fell asleep. My father smiled apologetically and handed out cigarettes to those who came to congratulate him, saying that there would be no banquet this time, but he would make it up to everyone next time. My grandmother slapped her thigh and cursed in the countryside, saying that my father married a money-losing woman and gave birth to an unlucky person. So when I was 6 months old, my mother became pregnant with my younger brother. The whole house was no longer gloomy, and everyone was smiling so hard that their eyes were not visible, and it was full of liveliness. After my younger brother was born, they all scrambled to hold him, but no one remembered me who had been hungry in the corner all day. The instinct for survival made me cry loudly. My mother said that she must be feeling unbalanced because her younger brother was more popular, so she deliberately tried to attract attention. Girls are jealous from a young age. Later, I grew up with bumps and bruises. But I still don't understand. I don't understand why my brother can have 3 fried eggs in the morning, but I can't have one. The teacher clearly said that eggs are good for growth. But my dad said girls don't need so much nutrition. I don't understand why my younger brother can go to a private school at a high price, while I can only read books to pieces and go to a public school for free because of my good grades. I don't understand why my younger brother cries and refuses to go to his interest class after school, yet my parents have to coax him to go. And when I suggest that if my brother doesn't want to, I can go in his place, my parents scold me for being so scheming at such a young age. I don't understand why my younger brother has never been in the kitchen or done housework, while I have to get up early every day, soak my hands in cold pool water all year round, wash greasy dishes, and wash the clothes for the whole family. I don't understand why when I was still studying late at night, I never received a word of concern or a glass of milk, but only endless abuse, saying that I was wasting electricity and spending money. I don't understand why, just because I'm the older sister, my younger brother has to pick all the good things first. He has to ask me to help him with his homework, and I can't fight back when he hits me. I don't understand why my brother can be picked up from school every day, but I have to walk back by myself. There were so many things I didn't understand, so I started asking why. After entering junior high school, the school was far away from home, and I didn't want to waste time on the road anymore. So I asked my father if he could take me to school like he did to my brother. Because they were worried about me, my younger brother has been a day student, while I live in the school dormitory and only have to bother them once a week. Dad didn't say anything, so I thought he agreed. On Monday morning, before 5 o'clock, I was woken up by my mother using a feather duster. She sneered and said, "Didn't you ask your dad to take you to school?" I got into the car driven by my father in silence. The sky outside the window was dark, like a lurking fang-toothed beast. Along the way, my father kept cursing me, asking me why I didn't just die, and his eyes looked like he wanted to swallow me up. During the 15-minute drive, I heard the most vicious abuse I had ever heard in my life, words I never thought would come out of a father's mouth. I went too early, and the school gate was not open. I leaned against the iron railing at the door and sat quietly for 2 hours. It was cold and dark. I watched the sun rise slowly from the east, filling the sky with morning light. From then on, I had endless energy in my heart, which supported me to get up 2 hours earlier and walk the 6 miles from home to school step by step. It took me 3 full years to walk these 9,268 steps. Unlike my younger brother, who never has to worry about money, I don't have any pocket money. I am so poor that I am left with only my humble and worthless self-esteem. I tried to ask for it, but they were cultured people, and not only did they not give it to me, they also always used a few words to trample on my self-esteem and crush it to pieces, humiliating me to the extreme. When my younger brother was carefree, I was already trying every possible way to make money. So, I have loved money since I was a child, and I can't live without money. I pick up trash in the community, do homework for others, help people distribute flyers, sell correction fluid before exams, and sell 3-color pens after exams. I got beaten up from time to time, and was told that I was embarrassing myself when I went out. The turning point came during the summer vacation, after I graduated from junior high school. The 3 of them were traveling by car. On the way, they had an argument because of a disagreement, and my brother grabbed the steering wheel. Finally, it was driving in the opposite direction at high speed and collided with a truck. Both vehicles overturned. Of the 5 people, none survived. My first reaction to the news was pity. I felt sorry for the newlywed couple sitting in the truck. Their funeral was handled in a hurry, and the old lady hurried from the countryside to fight for the inheritance and compensation. She didn't want to leave me a penny. I rolled around with a kitchen knife, and was even more ruthless than her. I spread the news that G's parents abused their daughter everywhere. And I said the old lady wanted to wipe out the entire family. The old lady has many children. I don't care about Face, but they always have to care about Face. After all the negotiations, I got 20,000 yuan, and the old, dilapidated house I lived in. All the valuables in the house were taken away by the old lady. Although it's not much, I can finally compete for it. I also changed my name from Mary Clark to Debra Clark. I am no longer the person who was born for my younger brother. I am myself. 8. Number 1 Middle School is an old and famous school with no shortage of high-quality students. Even though I did very well in the high school entrance exam, I was not able to get any special exemption policies. But from the first year of high school to the second year of high school, I was always the top student in the grade. The scholarship every month belongs to me. The school took my situation into consideration and allowed me to attend school as a day student. I am busy every day. In the morning, I brought breakfast to my boarding students for a fee, gave them paid tutoring at noon, printed and sold notebooks in the afternoon, and worked part-time at a convenience store in the evening. In addition, there are also some competitions. The money I earn is barely enough to live on. I am not very popular because I don't have time to chat about gossip with them, and I don't care about classmate friendship. I charge a fixed fee for anything I do for them. My face is full of signs of lack of money and love of money, and I am full of the aura of materialism. So after Timothy, the transfer student, was ranked first. They are all laughing at my joke. I wasn't familiar with Timothy at the time, so I didn't feel anything. At most, I felt sorry for losing the $500, and at the same time I motivated myself to work harder. When I walked into the classroom, after looking at the results, everyone gathered around Timothy, praising him for his skill, and gloating over the fact that he had finally pulled me down. The first place has finally been changed. Looking forward to seeing Debra's expression. The scholarship that was about to be in her mouth flew away. It seems like the scholarship was created just for her, and no one else got it. She's usually so arrogant, but this time she finally hit a wall. The boy leaned back in his chair, a hint of impatience between his brows. Is it difficult to get first place? You're so excited, haven't you ever won it before? Is $500 a lot? It's not even enough for a pair of socks. You're so talkative, no wonder you can't get first place. They were unhappy. Having lost Face here, we naturally have to look for it in the next place. During adolescence, Face is more important than anything else, and the words spoken are often malicious without one realizing it. Or maybe it's self-aware. $500 is nothing to us, but it's a huge sum of money to Debra. Ha 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 ha, the shoes she wears are all on sale. I don't know where she bought those shoes that cost 30 or 40 yuan. Can they be worn? Ha ha ha. Hey, she only has 2 pairs of shoes. I haven't seen her change into anything else. You don't usually brush your teeth, do you? I've heard even more outrageous remarks. In comparison, this is nothing. I spoke calmly. You care about me so much. Are you going to donate money to me? Weakness can sometimes be used as the best weapon to fight back. Worrying about the current situation that cannot be changed will only add to your troubles. They were silent for a moment, with guilt written all over their faces. You laugh at my poverty, but don't help me get out of poverty. What does it have to do with you whether I am poor or not? 9. People who shine will always get attention. Good looking, good grades, good family background, transfer student. These labels made Timothy the subject of discussion after class. They said that he wore a different set of clothes every day and never wore the same shoes, which were shockingly expensive. They said that he had good grades, even though he didn't listen carefully in class, which was because of his talent, and Debra could only rely on hard work. They said that he was not from the same world as everyone else. To highlight a person's existence, a foil is often needed. I became what they called the contrast between me and Timothy, one on earth and one in heaven. One is vulgar, the other is highbrow. I did not kill Bo-run, yet Bo-run died because of me. It has nothing to do with him, but the ridicule is caused by him. It's hard for me to be objective and fair to him. In particular, after the monthly exam, the head teacher found that his English was outstanding, but his Chinese was relatively weak. while it was just the opposite for him and me. So he and I were forced to sit at the same table. In the English class, the teacher asked us to read the text in sections. The teacher, who was always strict, was showered with praise. And all I got was Chinglish, more work to do. It would be fine if he showed joy, but he still looked nonchalant. His indifference made me feel like all my efforts were in vain in an instant. What I pursue with all my might is something that others can only reach, or even sneer at. Because I like money, I always thought rich people were cute, but now I just find him annoying. The most annoying people are those who pretend to be cool. He talked to me, but I ignored him. He asked me about my homework, but I didn't tell him. He complained that my English pronunciation sounded like an alien language. I scolded him and said that Chinese was taught by the physical education teacher with his feet. Taking advantage of his poor Chinese foundation, I used all sorts of idioms to scold him all day long. I said he was pretending, and he said I was being hypocritical. No one likes anyone else. After several exams, we took turns sitting first. But I carefully noticed that he used the same pen for every exam. Before the exam, he clasped his hands together and muttered to himself. He must have asked for outside help. Rich people have many tricks. I'm afraid he will hire a ghost. So to make it fair, before the exam, I went to buy 2 identical pens, one for him and one for me. After changing the pen, he was exposed. The history teacher came into the classroom holding the corrected papers, looking meaningfully in our direction. It must be him he was looking at. The 2 lowest scores in the entire grade are in our class. Timothy 25. The class was silent. The full score is 100, and 25 is extremely bad. The boy who was called was shocked. The teacher handed him the test paper and said in a low voice, "You are such a wicked traitor." I couldn't help but burst out laughing. The whole class, including Timothy, was shaking with laughter. Oh, sure enough, the smile will not disappear. It will only shift. After getting the test paper, I realized that my answers to the major questions were all blank, cleaner than my face. So is his paper. We looked at each other and turned to look through the pencil case. The pen says, "Disappearing pen." Since this was a non-essential expense, I told my boss I wanted the cheapest one when I bought it. Sure enough, cheap goods are not good. The full score is 100, with 75 points for subjective questions and 25 points for multiple choice questions. The multiple choice questions were scanned using a card reader, so I filled them all in with 2B pencils, and no black pen was used. In other words, he made all the right choices, and I made one wrong one. "Did you replace my pen?" I knew I was in the wrong, so I explained it honestly. His expression gradually stiffened, and he slowly raised his eyes. "Debra, are you sick?" "I'm worshipping Athena. Athena, the goddess of wisdom." "Oh, I see. To be fair, I will worship Confucius before my next exam." 10. From this incident, I realized clearly how petty and vindictive he was. Because I go to bed late at night, I have to help buy breakfast in the morning. I was often late for morning self-study, and in order to avoid being deducted points, I would sneak over the wall to enter the school. He was a person who often didn't come to morning self-study, but he volunteered to join the student union to check discipline. He would get up early every day and squat behind the wall to catch me. As a result, my name appeared on the disciplinary list for a month. Most of my regular scores were deducted, and my regular scores were linked to the final evaluation of the 3 best students. 3 Good Students Award 1,000 yuan. You can deduct points from me, but you can't deduct money from me. So in the physical education exam, I deliberately lowered his scores in all items. There are people all around. I have a loud voice. High jump, 1.3 meters. Long jump, 1.6 meters. 50 meters, 9.8 seconds. 800 meters, 5 minutes. Pull-ups 0. Height. I shouted at the top of my voice. 179 centimeters. He finally couldn't help but scream. "You're talking nonsense. I'm 185 centimeters tall." I pretended to be afraid. Okay, whatever Timothy says." He was so angry that the muscles on his cheeks were twitching slightly. I blinked. Blocking someone's path to wealth is like killing their parents. I can't kill you. At the New Year's Eve party, The teacher asked the class to perform a show. I knew he couldn't dance, and he knew I couldn't sing. But both of our names appeared on the lottery ranking list. I sang solo and he danced. We shot ourselves in the foot, and both of us looked unhappy. The song chosen is Silk Pulling Play, which is gentle and classical. I blushed and found the teacher. Teacher, can I not go on stage? I really can't sing. The teacher was old and patted me on the shoulder. You kid, you're just being modest. However, when it was Timothy and I's turn to go on stage, the teacher suddenly realized that I was not being low-key. I was introducing myself. Not only did I break my voice, I even sang the tune of Silk Pulling Opera into Hero's song. As for Timothy, he started fighting with himself while dancing. The audience burst into laughter. The teacher was silent for a long time. Opening comments. Debra, you have a strong voice and you are in good health. Timothy, you can tell from the looks of it that you don't lack calcium. Your bones are very hard, and you are neither humble nor arrogant. It seems like you two are both good students. All the dignity and face have been lost. Heat rushed to his forehead, and he could tell without even looking that his face was completely red. I tilted my head slightly, and Timothy glared at me, his ears turning red. I thought the war would continue. Later, the head teacher called me to his office to discuss the latest subsidies for poor students. A few days later, the application form I filled out was taken by someone and circulated in the class. Although that student was eventually given a warning by the school. But that table was looked at over and over again. Every word on the table is my self-reflection. What was originally vague became clear in an instant, and everyone looked at me with sympathy, shock, and avoidance. Gradually, there are rumors that I was born unlucky, and that my parents and my brother were killed by me. Anyone who gets close to me will also be affected by misfortune. They claimed to be righteous and advised Timothy not to sit at the same table with me. I thought he would take advantage of this to add insult to injury. Unexpectedly, he was too lazy to even lift his eyelids, with a mocking look on his face. I've seen bound feet, but I've never seen bound brains. It doesn't matter if your mind is empty. The key is to keep it clear of water. If you have bad grades, you can learn. If you are ugly, you can get plastic surgery. But if you have a bad heart, you can't cure it. Every one of them has honey on their lips, and their words are more slurred than those of 10 old ladies in the village combined. The messengers of justice were scolded so much that their faces turned red, and they dispersed one after another. In the slanting sunlight, the boy's back was as straight as a pine tree, and the loose hair on his forehead cast a ray of light and shadow. The boy turned his head and sneered at me. They scolded me like a grandson, but when it was their turn, they said nothing. Debra, you treat me differently. I'll tell you the truth. They are my clients. With a blank expression on his face, he counted out 10 red bills from his pocket. Slap it on the table. I order you to curse back next time. Good scolding. There will be a performance bonus at the end of the month. My classmates are all very stingy. I can't even earn 1,000 yuan from them in a whole semester. In less than 2 seconds, I made my choice. He quickly took the money and put on a flattering smile. Okay, boss. No matter who you are against, you can never be against money. Boss, if I really did get you killed by accident, money is money and matter is matter. Let's keep things separate. Shut up, I'm rich. I'm going to wear Nike every day from now on. 11. At 9 o'clock, evening self-study ends. I packed my bag and planned to take a shortcut to the convenience store to work part-time. Several girls in the class were discussing this. Hey, you know what? There are perverts around our school. He's a pervert. He scared a lot of girls to tears. I heard it's on Sand Street Road. Let's take the main road tonight. I'm scared. I paused. Timothy carried his bag, stood up from his seat and sat back down. He asked casually, which street is your home on? Sand Street Road. I also have to pass this road when I go to work part-time. Even if I don't go out to make money, I can't not go home, right? Why don't you just stop going from there? No, I'll just go through there. Seeing that time was running out, I put on my bag and ran out. His voice was fading away behind me. Debra, come back, I'll take you there. If you don't go that way, you will have to take a detour, which will take an extra hour. Start work at 9:15 and half of your salary will be deducted if you are late. Why not go through there? Just go through there. No matter what kind of pervert you are, if you block my way to wealth, I will turn you into a dead pervert. Dark intersection. A few meters away, a man in a suit was blocking the middle of the path with the door wide open. He walked closer slowly, laughing like he was crazy. Damn it. There really are perverts. I dropped my school bag, rolled up my sleeves, and went forward instead of retreating. Why am I so poor? Because I spent most of my money on learning self-defense. The only one who can protect me is myself. Always has been and always will be. The coach also said that I have good talent, am tall and strong, and can learn quickly. I kicked him right in the center, and he was so beaten that he couldn't even scream. Hit me where it hurts. Beat him until he complains. I retracted my foot and looked back to look for the school bag I had dropped. I saw a young man in white shirt and black pants, quietly leaning against the wall, holding my school bag in his arms and a brick in his right hand. Seeing me looking back, he subconsciously threw away the bricks. I don't see anything. After a while he added, real. In the police station. Timothy remained calm. Uncle Police, everything I said is true. I saw with my own eyes that pervert trying to do something to her. And then Debra yelled with such force that the pervert got so scared that he shuddered and banged his head against the wall. I wiped my eyes and nodded innocently. Police. The female police officer next to us handed us a cup of warm water. He smiled and said, all right, this is legitimate defense, it's a good thing, don't panic. That pervert is a habitual offender. After I came out of the police station, not only was I fine, I also received a reward of $500. As for the part-time job, I told my boss about what happened tonight. She comforted me and told me to go back and have a good rest, and she would pay me tonight's salary as usual. Money makes people happy. I am not a heartless person. Now everyone looks pleasing to the eye. Thinking of Timothy just speaking up for me, I put my arm around his shoulders like a brother. Boss, I'd like to treat you to a midnight snack. What would you like to eat? He turned his head and raised the corners of his lips quietly. Spicy hot pot. Wow, the young master is starting to become more down to earth. My favorite food is malatang. He went to eat malatang and added a lot of chili peppers. I told him to stop wasting time, but he argued with me and said it tasted better this way. Then his mouth became swollen like a sausage, and he looked like a nobody. He went to the toilet 3 times. 12. It is true that money makes the world go round. After that day, we shook hands and made peace. He no longer gets up early to squat on me. I helped him with Chinese, and he helped me with English. He even introduced me to a high-paying tutoring job, where I could earn 500 yuan over the weekend. I apologize for my previous failure to recognize the great man. He is not a pretentious guy, he is my god of wealth. The last day of the National Day holiday. I do my homework at home. Frank yelled at the door. Frank is my dog. Although he is small in size, he is very fierce. I opened the door and saw Timothy standing outside with a big golden retriever. He stood with his head held high, his brows full of pride. How about my dog? It is tall with smooth, golden, elegant and elastic hair. It looks expensive at first glance. That's fine, but I have a dog too. I called Frank twice towards the door. The little ball, as big as a football, immediately ran over excitedly, circling around my legs. Timothy was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't expect that I would have a dog. Then he became calm. Pointing at Frank, he said, your dog is so small, it's useless. Mine is better. Not only is it good looking, it can also protect people. After listening for a long time, I understood. He just came to show off his dog. I can't tell what breed it is. I'm afraid it's a hybrid. I squatted down and patted Frank on the head. Go. He called you a bastard. As soon as the words fell, the little black shadow rushed out like an arrow, and the barking sound was loud and fierce. The big golden retriever widened his eyes and shrank back, howling. The boy's face suddenly changed, and he explained while running away. Brother, I didn't scold you. I was talking about hybrids. Frank doesn't bite, but he is scary. I ate watermelon and watched the fun. Finally, Timothy called him Big Brother, until his mouth was dry, and then Frank lay on my feet like a big boss. Too tired to care about anything else, Timothy sat down on the ground, panting. Debra, you did this on purpose. Who told you to come all the way here to show off your wealth to me? The corners of his mouth twitched, and he was shaking with anger. Who is bragging to you? I'm here to give you a dog. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I quickly stood up and stuffed the half-eaten watermelon into his arms. Please sit down, eat watermelon. He snorted. Many of the righteous are butchers, while the cruel and ruthless are scholars. Without any hesitation, he got up and sat on my little stool, and took 2 big bites of the watermelon. The next second he seemed to realize something. He froze, wishing he could bury his head in the watermelon. The base of the ears changes from pink to red, and then to dark red, and the color gradually spreads to the back of the neck. He took out a lucky bag from his pocket and stuffed it into my hand. Happy birthday. Then I carried my watermelon, and my feet felt like they were greased, and I walked briskly. I was stunned. I watched his back until he disappeared. A long time. He rubbed his sore eyes. It's too windy today. Sand got into my eyes. However, the more I rubbed it, the more sour it became. Everyone was laughing at the application form, but he was the only one who saw my birthday. It turns out that even if we are not related to each other, there are people who will travel thousands of miles to pray for my safety. I thought no one would remember. 13. The day when the college entrance examination results came out. He and I tied for 8th in the province. I went back to school to get the necessary documents, and bought a bouquet of flowers on the way to thank my homeroom teacher. In the office, the head teacher was chatting with several teachers. Debra is finally here. Isn't it? She's pretty, and she's going to a prestigious university. She can easily marry into a good family in the future. Well, do you think that she and Timothy's child will be successful? You think too much. Debra is already taking advantage of the fact that they can sit at the same table. Without Timothy, she wouldn't be where she is today. Only in school can you come across people with such a huge class gap. Once you get out into society, you won't see them anymore. I listened quietly. He turned around and left with the flowers. I chewed those words in my mouth, but I didn't know how to refute them. In the evening, a message came on my phone. Timothy asked me where I planned to study. I said I haven't thought about it yet. He said, I'm going to Peking University, you. I held my breath and subconsciously tried to avoid what he said next. I'm not going to Peking University anyway. Where are you going? My thoughts were confused and I spoke nonsense. I went to Cambridge, England. I sold my house. A while ago, the old house was demolished. $100,000 and I have no home. The chasm becomes a chasm. He said yes. On the first day of school, I reported to Peking University. Received an international call. The place of origin is the United Kingdom. There was silence between both parties, and a slight breathing sound could be heard from the other end of the line. He said, Debra, did you fill in the wrong application? I didn't say anything. He said to himself, it doesn't matter. I have money. Can I go back to my country now? Are you studying at Peking University? I like Peking University too. I slowly closed my eyes. No. The voice on the other end of the phone paused and was silent for a moment. Have you opened that lucky bag? I shook my head, then realized he couldn't see. No. Can you please open it and take a look? He said as if begging. I don't want to see it. Dare not look. He was so angry that he laughed. You really don't understand what I mean? For a moment I wanted to cry. I feel so lucky, but I can't help feeling so sad. I don't understand. I didn't understand it before. I don't understand it now, and I won't understand it in the future. He spoke in a hoarse voice, enunciating each word. Debra, you're amazing. The heart is not made of wood or stone, so it is full of feelings. But I keep silent and hesitate, not daring to speak. I pushed open the door, and it was dark outside, with only the light from the stars and the moon barely illuminating the way ahead. If I don't move forward, I will be buried by the darkness. And this year, I was 18 years old. In the golden age of my life, inferiority and pride competed with each other. 14. No matter how much you quarrel, no matter how much you make a fuss, the cooperation discussions went smoothly. After dinner, Jason invited me to see a movie. His dark, clear eyes blinked at me, and his voice was muffled. Sister, I was beaten up really badly last time I went back home, so just think of it as feeling sorry for me, okay? I coughed twice guiltily, just about to agree. Who do you feel sorry for? You're a 140-pound strong man? You're like an old cucumber painted green. Aren't you ashamed? Timothy's eyes clearly showed the threat of, I will deduct your salary if you dare to agree to this. I swallowed my words again. A tall figure stood in front of me, covered Jason tightly. The child gritted his teeth and said, Timothy, I'm the client. The contract has already been signed. It doesn't matter if you are your father. Unless you want to break the contract, I will pay triple the compensation. The pronunciation is clear and the tone is long. The young man's expression changed again and again, and he said viciously, just wait for me. I will sit outside Grandpa Shun's door and cry tomorrow. Wow, you're really a kid. After Jason left, Timothy wanted to take me home. I shook my head and said no. I'm so tired tonight. Dealing with two bosses is more tiring than working. I don't want to have to cheer myself up on the way back. Unexpectedly, he opened the car door coldly. Debra, could you please check what time it is? It's 10 p.m. You want to go home alone? Do you think I'm rich? Or do you want to screw me? What if something happens to you? I'll have worked for nothing for 10 years. 15. After offending my boss time and again, I felt I was close to being fired. Since you can't escape the fate of unemployment, you might as well make some extra money before you leave. I logged into my WeChat account, posted a message in moments. During the free period, those who are interested can bring their prices. We can fly to all parts of the country, but the number of places is limited. After a while, the message count reached 99 plus. The people who contacted me included internet celebrities, stars, and half of them were rich girls. Here's the thing. Although my boss has many shortcomings, but it is undeniable that his greatest advantages are that he is rich and handsome. Coupled with his series of unconventional actions, he is considered a landslide in the CEO world. As a result, he himself is quite popular on the internet, which is equivalent to a human hot search. In this era where traffic is king, some people want to take advantage of his popularity, and some people want to take advantage of his face. From time to time, she is secretly photographed and hyped up, and some gossip spreads. Today she is a female celebrity. Tomorrow she is a small internet celebrity. And the day after tomorrow she might be a rich girl who is obsessed with looks. Even if the matter is clarified afterwards, the other party has already gained exposure through hype. Timothy is a businessman, and he won't let himself suffer any loss. If you can't beat them, then join them. You can hype, but you have to pay for it. What? Don't want to pay? Sure, Walker's legal department will sue you into bankruptcy. So Timothy can get high extra money every month in this way. Where there is demand, there is a market. Where there is buying and selling, there is me. There are many people who want to get close to him, but have no chance. One wants to give money, the other wants to take money. The existing transaction chain only needs a middleman to mediate and make it rational, transparent, standardized, regularized, and unified. Adhering to the principle of girls helping girls, I sacrificed my small self for the sake of the big self and volunteered to be the middleman. The market plays a decisive role in resource allocation. In order to give full play to the role of the market, I flexibly use price mechanism, competition mechanism, feedback mechanism, and risk mechanism. For example, there are different levels of bottom prices for having a scandal with your boss. In units of WTF, each costs $10,000. For entertainment activities such as dining, shopping, and watching movies, the minimum reward is $50. For physical activities such as horse riding, shooting, rock climbing, etc., the minimum reward is 100 points each, because such opportunities are hard to come by. Of course, I did not tarnish my boss's innocence. The biggest feature of Scandal is uncertainty. In the online world, fake CPs are the easiest to follow. If you post a photo of the two of you holding hands, they will find it boring. The more the connection is slightly but not much, and the more groundless it is, the more room there is for imagination, and the higher the chances of success they can achieve. So I just need to reveal the boss's itinerary, and after the boss leaves, they go to the places he has been to take pictures, and make some ambiguous poses. The perfect scandal was born. Of course, all these opportunities are based on the boss's work schedule, so the number of places is limited, and the highest bidder wins. If there are any dissatisfactions, I can occasionally provide some after-sales services. The person who pays the money feels comfortable. I even made a schedule to prevent schedule conflicts. Of course, I couldn't have done all of the above in vain. The middlemen also make a profit from the price difference. Not much, it depends on the customer. If you give too little, you won't have time next time you come. You have given too much, and you are welcome to visit us next time, God of Wealth. Seeing that I was about to leave my job, I had no choice but to go back to my old job. Accidentally used too much force. As a result, the boss is surrounded by scandals, while he is actually busy as a dog. The boss on the internet, shopping with beautiful women. The actual boss, drinking with the old man. Every day we are either discussing cooperation, or on the way to discussing cooperation. There is no time even for scolding people. The whole company is happy, and a world has been achieved where only the boss is hurt. Looking at the increasing balance in the bank card, I bought a small cake for the boss with a guilty conscience. The size of a palm, and 200 yuan. What I'm selling is not cake, but my life. Timothy looked at today's schedule. His brows furrowed so tightly that they could kill a fly. Debra, is Walker going bankrupt? I shook my head blankly. If I had gone bankrupt, I would have run away long ago. He took a deep breath, then explained to me why I have to take 2 flights a day to travel to 3 cities on business. I'm the boss, not the donkey. I am deeply saddened and speak out righteously. Because you are the boss at this age, are you going to choose comfort? I didn't want to, but Christine, Cheryl, and Barbara had given so much, and they insisted on grabbing this day. Seeing veins throbbing on the boss' forehead, he was about to cite the quintessence of Chinese culture. I quickly opened the cake and gave him a bite. Come eat. Don't be angry. Anger is bad for your health. Bite after bite, the boss's complexion became better and better, and the wrinkles on his face were smoothed out. Even until the feeding was finished, he looked pleasant. He tapped his fingers on the tabletop in a pleasant rhythm. Did Debra get rich, or did she find her conscience? Both. I denied it, smiling meekly. Neither. I just realized I should be nicer to my boss. His eyes flickered slightly, and he raised his eyebrows and chuckled. Okay, the itinerary will be as you arranged. 16. The boss became the #1 trending topic because he dated 3 beauties in 3 cities in one day. Netizens jokingly call him the new generation time management master. That night, the boss was scolded by his parents. The usually gentle lady sounded so anxious that she was about to jump up and down. Timothy, you are such a grown-up. You still don't understand the truth. His father. When I was your age, I had a wife and kids and a warm bed. What are you doing? Timothy looked at me with a helpless tone. I'm saving money for my wife. After hanging up the phone, he sighed. Thick eyelashes hide the look in her eyes. Looks a bit pitiful. Debra, I haven't eaten yet. I looked shocked. Why haven't you eaten yet? What should I do if I'm starving? Who pays me? Every bit you can get is a bit you can get. I took out my cell phone. As a penalty, you have to transfer 500 yuan to me. Remember to eat next time. He said, actually I ate 2 bowls, but I was so busy that I forgot. I held out my phone to him. What if you feel full after eating so much? I'll fine you 1,000. Be more careful next time. The way he looked at me was indescribable. 17. On a business trip to a neighboring city. The neighboring city is close to the sea, with beautiful scenery and a duty-free shop. No woman can resist such temptation, including me. I picked and chose among the lipsticks, calculating the discounts in my head. Timothy, don't worry, just buy them all. I only make a few dollars, and you're acting so extravagant? I'm poor. I'll pay for Walker's employee travel benefits. My eyes widened suddenly. The surprise came too suddenly. I was a little dazed for a moment. I've never heard of that. He patted my shoulder. Because you've never been a boss. That makes a lot of sense. No rebuttal. So I chose to return with a full load. Boss, you are so nice. He asked meaningfully. How good? This polite and empty expression has been used for hundreds of years. It summarizes the wisdom of our predecessors. Are you serious and trying to drive me crazy? I could only answer tentatively. Very good. He rolled his eyes at me. Hypocritical. Maybe I was too happy and excited. So my period came early. I asked the boss to go back to the hotel first. And I went to the convenience store downstairs to buy some daily necessities. After coming back, swiped the room card to enter. I rushed to the bathroom with the sanitary napkin in hand. As soon as I pushed the door open, smoke filled the air. The boss is taking a shower with his butt naked, and it looks pretty perky. The warm yellow light shines down, outlining the smooth and firm muscle lines, broad shoulders, and narrow waist. He turned around in horror and our eyes met. He was in a panic and covered the front, but missed the back. My mind told me that I should scream, then cover my eyes and run. But my emotions took control of me. My eyes became uncontrollable, and my throat was dry and I couldn't shout. I licked my lips, my eyes fixed. Boss, is this also a business trip benefit? I found that I couldn't cover it anywhere. He simply squatted on the ground, covering his face, and became furious. Debra, there are only 4 out of 10 people like you. I knew you loved money, but I never knew you were also lustful. Blame me, blame me. Hidden too deeply. 18. I watched it too much and too carefully, which caused me to have nightmares all night. Go to work the next day. I met the boss by chance at the elevator entrance. I realized it later and felt uncomfortable all over. Debra. 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 Ha. Ha. I came to my senses and found that the boss had a sullen look on his face. He gestured. I called you 3 times. Sorry, I was deaf just now. Boss, what can I do for you? He clenched his fist and coughed lightly, tugged at his tie, straightened his coat, and finally touched his hair. How about it? Without even looking up, I responded subconsciously. Okay. The man's voice was filled with anger. At least look up at me first. It was just a glance, and my peripheral vision almost left an afterimage. Very good. Your butt is up in the air. You have no eyes. Looking at his back, I noticed that he had changed into a new suit, which seemed to be 1 size smaller. The waistline is tightened and the buttocks are more upturned. I can't watch this anymore. If you continue to look like this, you'll end up in jail. After half a day, I found that my spiritual heart was disturbed. Can't concentrate on work. As soon as I close my eyes, all I see are buttocks. I simply replaced the cleaning lady, who was mopping the floor outside the president's office. Take the mop. While peeking, he mopped the floor until it was shiny. Don't you like looking at perky butts? I let these eyes see enough. There is 3 inches of space at the door, and I dragged it back and forth 50 times and still felt I was not satisfied. The tiles are brighter than the Mediterranean style of the finance manager downstairs. Timothy looked at me at the door, and before he could ask any questions, he fell down on his butt. Your butt? No, I mean, are you okay? He straightened his crooked glasses. Shout. Debra, are you trying to piss me off to death? I took 2 steps back silently. I'm the one having my period, but you act more like your uncle. Don't forget who pays you. I took 2 steps out of 3, knelt down and did a sliding tackle, patting the boss's heaving chest. Don't be angry. I beg you, this month's salary has not been paid yet. 19. Timothy is going to attend a cocktail party. He took me along. He never participated in it before. This time it might be my uncle who came and had a seizure. He also hired a special stylist and makeup artist for me. I pointed at a row of dresses and asked, Can I really pick any one? He rested his chin on his hand and nodded. Wear what you want to wear. You usually dress too shabby. But if I'm not rustic, someone will give me trouble. I hesitated. Why don't we just forget it? He sat up straight, his face serious. Debra, I think you still don't understand what I mean. I mean, you can wear whatever you want, and you have the same freedom as everyone else within the rules. I can protect you. My heart was churning, and every word I heard sounded resounding. I know it's not my fault that I have a sexy body, and I know it's not my fault that I'm harassed as a woman, but no one has ever said such things to me, and I don't have a strong backing behind me, so I subconsciously restrain myself to reduce trouble. A stone is thrown into the calm lake of heart, causing countless waves. Wait until I walked out of the fitting room wearing a strapless, backless black fishtail dress. Timothy covered his nose and blushed for a moment. "Are you sure you want to wear this? Not good looking?" he said in a deep voice. "You're so beautiful, I feel like I'm not worthy of you." I couldn't help laughing out loud. Indeed, with my figure, I would look good even wearing a sack. There were a lot of people at the party, a mixed crowd. I also saw the manager who had harassed me. He licked his big belly while his eyes lingered on me. His two tiny eyes rolled around with ill intentions. "Hey, isn't this Debra? Long time no see, you're dressed so sexy. No matter how long we haven't seen each other, you're still as mean as ever." I rolled my eyes and raised my palm to make a castration gesture. The sinister look on his face grew stronger, and he moved closer, glass in hand. Suddenly, a fingertip wrapped in a handkerchief poked his bulging belly. "Stand back." Timothy took his hand back and said, "Manager, you should keep your distance from others. It would be hard to say if you have a miscarriage." He sniffed his nose. "Manager, why do you smell weird? It seems like a fishy smell. Is it because your bladder is connected to your tear glands? If you leak urine from your eyes, everything you see smells fishy." The old man was so angry that smoke came out of his nostrils. "Timothy, how are you? Whether you have an illness or not doesn't affect your cuckold look. Don't you usually look in the mirror?" "Oh, it's useless to look in the mirror if you don't know yourself. Your face is as ugly as an injustice. And the filth on your body can't be washed away even with boiling water." The old man's face turned red, and his neck became thick. He was filled with hatred and anger, but he couldn't think of anything to say to fight back. "This person speaks too fast." Timothy reached out and patted his big belly, his eyes full of contempt and ridicule. "The rectum connects to the brain, and losing weight reduces the size of the brain. Think about how to explain the embezzlement of public funds to your brother-in-law." He took me and left in style. "Are you here just to curse people? But so cool." 20. That day my boss and I asked for leave. He asked me what I was going to do. I said I was going to visit the graves. He coughed lightly and said, "I'll take you there? And by the way, I can say sympathy to the family members of the employees." I shook my head. "No, I'll give you 50,000 and take me with you." The words came to his lips, but he changed his mind and said, "It's not impossible. In the cemetery, there is a fallen leaf in front of the tombstone. I come here every year, not to pay tribute to them, but simply to let them see how well I am doing." I was still cursing in my heart. I saw Timothy take out a bottle of matai from his arms and sprinkle it in front of my father's tombstone. He was mumbling something while peeping. My breath got stuck in my throat. "Don't be too outrageous. I haven't even burned a piece of paper for them, yet they're drinking your wine." I said, "They weren't nice to me at all." His back froze as he spilled the wine, and he quickly straightened the bottle. He said to the stone tablet, "Just pretend that I was farting just now." Then, with smooth movements, he poured the remaining wine in front of an unknown tombstone next door. He muttered to himself, "Uncle, I'll give you a drink. You can ask for the 2 sips that are missing from next door." The usually calm person is now stupid and foolish. I couldn't take my eyes off his figure. After a while, he sighed softly and slowly raised the corners of his lips. "Between money and beauty, I'm bound to get one of them. Besides, he has both." 21. That night, I logged into the account that had caused me social death. Posted a dynamic message. I said, "What if you fall in love with your mortal enemy?" The first comment is, "Marry him and play with him hard." The account nickname is, "Pure-hearted CEO and Pretty Secretary." After a while the phone rang. Timothy called. He said, "Debra, here is an investment. Do you want to participate? Low investment, no risk, high return." "It sounds like a scam." He sneered. "I'm so rich, why would I cheat you?" "What investment? Come down, I'll talk to you in person." I walked to the window and saw a familiar car parked downstairs. I put on my coat and went downstairs, feeling inexplicably nervous. Walking up to him, he said, "Lend me 100,000 yuan." The beating heart suddenly calmed down. More like a scam. Even so, I still transferred 100,000 yuan. His eyes turned, and he immediately put away his phone. "Be my girlfriend. If you agree, you will get 10 million in me. If you refuse, I will donate the money and run away. Think carefully." You are a real dog. What if I marry you? That's too much. I haven't even thought about it yet. Then I'll allow you to push your luck a little further. His eyes lit up instantly, and he hugged me tightly. Whispered, then you are not allowed to sell me out again. When did you find out? From the first time on. You will be very happy after getting the money, and you will treat me to delicious food every time. It seems that people should not be too conscientious, and should be cruel when necessary. There's no way. I'm 26 years old now. This is an age that is more emotional than 18. The love surged like a wave, coming so fast that I raised my hands in surrender. I remembered that lucky bag. After I hung up the phone that day, I took it apart. Inside was an amulet and a small note. The note read, "You had me at hello. I fell in love with you at first sight." Me too.